unfortunately, because of our
Guys,
smog.
you can't come on this side of the building.
Hey,
Sorry about that.
go on, get out of here.
Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C-Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 65 of BrewHeads, the podcast. Mate, we are here in Los Angeles, California. No, we're not. It's Torrance.
Hell,
Had it wrong for a second. We're at
thank
Smog
you,
City.
Los Angeles.
We're at Smog City once again. I got Teo Hunter from Dope Dank helping me out.
Double name, better.
And we have Porter, who's the owner and brewmaster, and of course Tim, head brewer here. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us and for having us.
Absolutely.
It's a wicked little facility out here. Haven't been to this wonderful part of the city yet.
You haven't seen the other half of the brewery.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a whole
there's
second
more.
part, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to check that out.
Yeah,
Cool.
barrels,
Expanding.
sexy.
Expanding.
The sexy part.
Expanding.
I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about today.
Awesome.
I want to start with the beers because that's always a fun part. What are we all drinking here? Tia, what do you got, son?
Oh, this is Smog City IPA, baby.
Yeah.
The flagship.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Formerly known as.
Beautiful.
That's crazy. Is that what you got too?
No, I got the Amarilla
Gorilla.
Gorilla, which is
Amarillo.
fantastic. Is it Amarilla or Amarilla?
Amarilla Gorilla. It's like a
Like
rhyme, you know?
yeah.
It's like a
Bars.
cheesy one
Yeah,
rhyme on the
you see how they get in Smog City? Already busting freestyle.
Man, being going for like 20
Amarilla,
seconds.
gorilla.
That's it.
I
It
wanna
sounds
feel
better
like
when you say
gorilla.
it.
Yeah, it does sound better.
That's the Dope Dank effect,
sound
by the
better.
way.
That's how you do it. What do you got, bro?
I'm drinking one of our newest barrel-aged sour beer release called Tall, Darth, and Handsome. It's a
I like that.
dark ale aged in second
My
yeast
favorite
bourbon.
brewery
with
now,
bread.
by the way. Oh, Darth and Answer. That's
It's a
amazing.
debut.
It's good.
Beautiful. What do you got there, bro?
I'm having the Smog City IPA as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
I want to
mess
make
up.
sure I knew what you were tasting.
Nice.
Just a double check.
You know, I thought I had slang until I met C. Like your slang
Yeah,
is so
little-
next level. I mean, not to get away from the beer.
No, it's. I realized I was saying to you, I had to text you, be like, hey man, I know I'm saying some stuff, and I feel like I say things to Americans that are like too, because I got Australian slang and then the Canadian stuff, and I forget that y'all don't get it sometimes.
Oh, no,
and
you
like,
just
I was
mix it all
confused about your
together.
accent when
Yeah,
you
so many
came in. I was like,
different
yeah, it's a lot.
where's it from?
And it took me, I had to learn the Toronto stuff is a whole other like level. Like it took me years to get the hang of it. Now I do, and sometimes like it just comes out, and I forget that we're not.
It's like, oh, he speaks beer.
Well,
let him in.
yeah. Let me
Unless
just
you're
let it
from
go.
the valley, there isn't really an LA accent because everyone is from somewhere
true.
else. So
That's
you're
a good
So
point.
you're good.
So I'm okay, right? Just
Yeah, you're
forget-
good,
I reckon I've probably heard
As long
like,
as you can say sentences that also end in periods,
that's all that matters.
good to go.
Periods are the key ones. I just noticed both you guys have no beard, and you're involved in
No.
beer. Can we talk
Yeah.
about
Oh,
that for a minute?
Bear-faced
Yeah.
brewers.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good episode, mate. Barefaced Brewers. Let me draw attention to it.
That's the name of a beer.
Yeah. So I know it's a ridiculous question, but
I don't
just
know.
you want to stray from the norm?
I mean, some of my East Coast brewer friends like to make fun of me and say, "Oh, is that the difference between East Coast and West Coast brewers? You gotta stay pretty out there." I just can't grow a beard, so it wouldn't work.
Right.
So
It's like a
Yeah, me neither. Really.
that would not be
It's like,
pretty.
Effort, you guys.
Yeah.
Effort. Now, let me tell you, I look like Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja. I still do. I mean, it would just come in patches, and I committed. I just
committed,
committed.
just
I
let it ride.
brushed it down. It's still kind of.
You made it work.
But
No, it's like-
you look like you probably shaved this morning, and you could grow.
That's trimmed
a beard.
up.
I had
It's
trimmed
definitely
down. I had to
trimmed.
cut. He actually
That's
came,
like
put me back
Backstreet
to his barber
Boys
and
trimmed
it. Well, you got the
that
the
tight.
lineup. I like the
Yeah.
lineup. It's a
They
whole-
would
Yeah.
die if it was.
But
a
you
fancy
did.
trimmer?
He did
Oh,
have
yeah, it was a whole
the.
like hour and a half process.
Yeah.
He actually. I can't wait to see pictures of the chin strap though. At some point, hopefully it'll just pop
I'm
up.
talking like we're joking about that. Like, you remember Craig David had that like the chin strap
Oh,
beard?
yeah.
Like, yeah. Did you guys not do that? I don't know. Like when you were but a child? No, it's just me.
No.
But back to the beer.
Anyway, so
Awesome.
let's talk about
Beard?
beer. So
Beard?
It
Beard?
kind of goes together.
Yeah.
Beard beers.
I wanted to.
There is one.
I wanted to point something out real quick
Please.
about just me being a Californian and being someone that champions Los Angeles-based, Torrance-based craft beers.
Yeah.
Smog City has always been in the conversation.
Right.
I've never once I jumped into craft beer, it was literally the first thing that someone mentioned. Oh, we'll try Smog City. If you could talk about being one of the original, in my opinion, and feel free to correct me, but one of the original brewers in the Los Angeles area and kind of what that means to you now.
I think I personally have always been part of the conversation. I've lived here since 2002. I've loved beer since before I moved here. And there weren't a lot of breweries, but I was seeking out all of those beer bars and the 3 or 4 that there were in existence. And when I started brewing, there were no like new school breweries, right? When I started brewing professionally, it was 2006, and then Eagle Rock was like the first like new school.
Yeah.
That was 3 years later.
Wow.
And so when we opened here, we were number 13 of like the new school crew, because there were still a couple of holdouts from the 90s, the brew pubs and stuff open around town. But I thought we were too late. I was like, oh, there's so many breweries in LA, like they're gonna grow, they're gonna be enormous, like we don't have a chance.
What year did you open? Sorry.
2011.
2011. Okay.
Yeah.
So 6 years now.
Yeah, but see, the reason why I feel like I've always been part of the conversation is because I was always seeking out great beer, and all those people who, you know, either were the owners of those bars, or the beer buyers, or the home brewers, like all the people at all the clubs, like, because there just wasn't that much, you know. You had to kind of band together and be like, yeah, craft beer, until everybody kind of picked up on it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've seen the scene like actually change in the last.
Oh my gosh.
I guess even since you opened, like it would have been a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
LA's never really been known. Like when I was researching this trip, I only knew about a few breweries, and most of them, to be honest, were from your posts. Like, because we don't get like, I guess the real stuff out there. You can't ship beer across that imaginary line. So
Right.
you have to come here to try it. And when
Yeah.
I was researching
Yeah.
out, like you guys were the first ones that came up. So
Right.
I guess you've seen that sort of like. I
Yeah.
guess now it's been a whole new resurgence of like breweries and styles. Like, can you speak to that at all? Like how
I
it's
mean, the
changed?
scene's changed a lot. I mean, it's a very exciting time to be part of LA beer.
Yeah.
Smog City was one of the founders of the Los Angeles Brewers Guild
Yep.
in
What up,
2012.
Franny?
In 2012, I think it was, right? And I think there were
yeah.
7 founding breweries at the time.
We technically were invited because the founding members had to have a brick and mortar.
Oh, right.
We weren't there yet.
contracting
Okay,
and
yeah,
stuff.
fair enough.
Yeah, we were
Definitely
brewing
want to
out
talk
of
about
the brew pub.
that. Okay.
But you know, now you look at it and there's 68 members.
Yes.
Just over the last 5 years.
Wow. All representing different breweries. There's 68 breweries.
68 breweries, right?
Wow.
In the Los Angeles Brewers Guild now.
Cool.
I mean, that's a lot
That is
of
a big place.
Compared to
growth.
13 when you said ish?
We were number 13.
Right.
Wow. So that's
So-
extreme growth.
You know, just kind of segueing to identity, I think that's something that Los Angeles is really starting to create for themselves. It's really coming out in our beer. It's coming out in the brands around the beer. I think, again, with Smog City, I think you guys have done a brilliant job of doing that. The first time that I ever ran across Smog City, I was pitching, to help them out with photography and artwork, not knowing that the owners were photographers and artists. And I was just kind of like, well, I just have a beer, since I'm here, But if you could talk about like your brand, Smog City. In the logo, you have this beautiful LA skyline, and then you have this tree, this beautiful tree. If you could talk about a little bit about your branding.
So, like you said, we were photographers, and studied a little design. I worked in print world, and Lori was a photographer. So we have a little bit of an eye for design. I like to say, like, we outsource all of our artwork, but we art direct them. Just like it's a little ego boost. But like I feel like we drive those decisions.
Let's make it blue.
Yeah, a little bit. But so logos are really important, obviously, to a brand. You read books on branding, and it's like, why the Shell Oil logo is yellow and orange, and like stuff like that. So we knew that it had to be readable from far away. It had to work in one color. It has to work in multiple colors. And it's like, what is the meaning behind it, right?
Talk about that.
Well, so when we originally set out, we were like, well, we're a California brewery. I don't know what our aspirations are in terms of where we want our beer, but we're definitely a California brewery. This is the kind of beers that we're making. I would say
It's beautiful, by the way.
yeah.
I forget sometimes we're being recorded. This beer is amazing, well balanced, amazing bitterness. Cheers to
Yeah,
we
what
are
up?
with cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Right.
Oh, man.
It's disgusting. What are we thinking?
My apologies.
No.
Cheers.
So the short answer is that the logo is a California cypress, which identifies us as a California brewery with our roots in Los Angeles. And it's got a bit of a second read. We've had customers like 9 months. They've been staring at that logo on the wall in the
Like,
tap room,
just
and they're like, "I never noticed the city," or the opposite. Like, those are roots. I just saw the city. It was like a skyline.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I might be going way too deep for you on this one, but I look at, smog is something that, apparently is supposed to kill you at the end of the day.
Wow.
But the way that I saw it is like the tree was almost like a different kind of smog, something else covering the city.
Green smog?
This hoppy smog,
Hop
smog.
There we go.
be a name.
Hop smog. Hop smog triple IPA.
That's it. It's coming. You just named it.
2019.
Get brewing.
That's a hazy beer.
Oh,
That's
no. It's gonna be, we have to make it brown, though. It's going to be great.
It has to be brown.
Gray, like swamp water.
Yeah.
Oxid.
I want to touch on both your backstories.
Touch on it. Just touch on it.
Briefly.
Ever so gently.
No, gently.
Just touch on it.
How did you guys get into beer? Like, how did you both end up where you are? Like, how did you start
My
brewing?
mammy used to.
How did you get here?
I don't even know his story. Well, there's some of it.
Most of it.
Let's
Tell us, Uncle
Should I
Tim.
start?
How far back should we go?
Yeah, how far back do I go? So I
All the way.
as a kid was big into science, always taking stuff apart. So I ended up as a chemical engineer in college.
Damn.
Those guys usually make the best brewers. Again, seriously.
Finding work when I graduated in 2008, the Great Recession, as they called it, was rough. But I managed to, I thought I was going to be making ethanol in Iowa, to be honest. I thought that was my dream, but I don't know.
Turning corn into fuel.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
You went
seriously?
deep side. Can you please break that down?
I thought I was going to be
the-
working for like Cargill or someone. I don't know.
Okay.
But I had to kind of like expand my job search at the time, and I ended up out in California in the microchip industry.
Right.
So I was working in Silicon Valley, and so that got me out to California. The market was still tough, so I was only contract engineering at the time. So eventually,
Get looked down upon?
It's actually smart.
It did by me. You got looked down on me because I didn't have a solid
You didn't
job.
have to, like,
Kind of
commit.
a-
Need that annual leave, fam.
So like the contract ends and they keep like renewing it, and they're like, we're out of money, and I was like, well, that sucks.
But I
So
wasn't
I was
an
like,
actual
well,
employee.
now what do I do with my life? And I
Actual.
thought San Diego looked
Water
cool,
employee.
so I moved down to San Diego,
Love the city.
and I got a job again in the microchip industry there. But just the beer scene in San Diego was already very well established, and I just fell in love with it. And I was like, this is so cool. And the more I learned about it, the more fascinated I became. And I started homebrewing, and the more I realized that it was literally chemical engineering, which is just fluids manufacturing.
Damn.
And I was like,
Not sexy.
I've got to be a part of this.
Manufacturing.
Not sexy.
Yeah. So
Manufacture the fuck out of
I don't know.
fluids.
I quit my job and spent 6 months in San Diego getting to know different brewers and trying to learn. And eventually I got a brew pub to hire me.
Which one? We were just there like last week.
Yeah, so it's no longer running, but it's Rock Bottom down there.
It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of them
Well,
still
there's
going.
just one location shut down.
Right.
When I was at shut down, but the head brewer is now head brewer at Hess Brewing, which is a
That's
great
good.
brewery. Yeah. Jason Stockberger showed me the first ropes. But that there was no, upward mobility there, so I moved to Los Angeles to work for a startup brewery as the first shift brewer hired, and it was Golden Road Brewing, so it doubled in size every year. and
Before the,
eventually, oh yeah.
What up, John? That's my boy.
Yeah, John Carpenter was the second
love
person
that
to give
dude.
me a shot and train
The
me.
beer
I feel like I've
hobbit.
heard about that's like every single podcast.
Dude, because
Someone's talked about
Naga
it.
and him are like, they have a
been around.
bromance.
And
He's
then
been
they
around.
talked about him on Indie as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so he's everywhere.
Yeah. If you have stainless
It's like
steel to
mythical
put in your
figure.
building, he can probably he
figure it
jumps
out.
on
He
shit
did
and
it.
swings from stuff.
Johnny,
And
all right.
But yeah, so I've been in
Slice
the
it up
LA
and
beer
put it back
scene
in,
since
put it back in.
2011.
That's no problem.
And Ting and Jeremy were like of Eagle Rock Brewing were like my first friends here in Los Angeles.
cool.
They were so supportive of this young brewer moving in here. But that's
great.
I learned a lot, and
And then the devil came knocking.
then and then Porter asked me if I'd ever think about making a change, and I said,
I don't know how I even got your number.
I said yes.
But I called and you were like, yeah. Yeah, we like to talk more. You told me, I called and you were like, yeah, let me call you back. And then you were like, Lindsay's like, are you crazy? Did you have to say yes?
Oh yeah. My now wife at the time knew the porters better than I did. So she was like, oh my God, they're amazing people. You have to say yes to this.
Yep.
And I was like, okay. Well.
Yeah, it's like, hey, would you like to brew beer? I'm doing a horrible
That's
Godfather.
Yeah, you sound like you have beer in
That
your
was
mouth.
that was the offer I couldn't refuse.
Oh, man, I
Right.
apologize to the Marlon Brando family for that. But he gave you an
long
offer
story.
so that
That's-
you couldn't refuse.
Something like that.
Yo,
Yeah.
talk about this expansion because
Yeah, we didn't talk about that yet.
I'm telling you, one of the first things that I noticed the first time I ever came to Smog City when I was looking for you guys are in a bank of buildings, you know, that all look alike.
Totally nondescript, yeah. No
Except-
sign. We still don't have a sign.
except
5
For the
years.
hot vines that are lining
yeah.
the building.
That's how he was like,
And I was like,
wrong one. Hop fine.
yeah. It was like I was almost about to make the,
Yeah,
you know, the
But
right.
you knew what they were, so you had an edge on most people.
Yeah, that's
Hence
true.
exposure and education. It's huge because I knew immediately that I was in the right place.
Awesome.
Congrat, all those good words for everything that you guys are experiencing right now. Talk about the expansion.
Yeah, so this room that we're in, I'm not sure if the echo is carrying across.
Maybe a little.
Echo.
It's pretty empty right now.
Echo. It's pretty empty right now. So we're getting ready to tear out the floor on what we're calling the South Cellar, right? So our original space of 5,500 square feet. It's got the tap room, still original space. We scooched it a little bit. We got some barrels and, but we basically maxed out the tanks that we could put on that floor, maxed out the cooling capacity and stuff like that. So we're like, oh hey, now what do we do? So this space came up. We had neighbors when we first opened, and we've had it for about a year now. But that's only because we got distracted with our barrel house that used to be 2 doors down when the building across the parking lot, which you guys haven't seen, we'll go over and check out.
Yeah.
That came up for release last spring, and we were like, oh, well, for long term, it makes more sense to keep this space for production and that space for cold storage, barrels, sour, bugs, lots of bugs. Yeah.
Bacteria.
So, so what we're sitting in is going to be the South Cellar, new packaging line. We have a rotary filler coming in. We're getting into 12-ounce 6-packs, which will be a huge change.
Yeah.
Huge change for us from this single bottle 500 milliliter format. I still think is a great format
It is.
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But it's less accessible. The price point's weird in a lot of people's minds. We'll continue to do barrel-aged beers and unique, one-offs and things like that in that format.
That is kind of an interesting thing, and I'm curious of what this might be in Canada as far as the packaging is concerned, because I learned very quickly that like aluminum is beer's best friend.
Yeah.
But then there's the pints, there's the 6 ounces, and then there's the bombers, there's the 500, there's the
I think you guys got like,
750s.
the big cans, like
Oh, yeah.
growlers, but the
Right,
next size up. I
right.
don't know what it is.
There's
the
19.6.
Yeah,
Well, there's-
19.2.
Is that what it is? Is that ounces?
19.2
Yeah.
ounces, yeah.
Everything's
Everything's
19.2 ounces.
It's so weird. And I also find it very
Right, it's
interesting
just
that you're
at
like,
that point.
we're going 12 ounce bottles and then we're doing 500 milliliter, 12 ounce and then going 500 milliliter. Like, that's just so funny that you didn't continue in ounces. It's like, and Canada's the same thing. It's like one or the other, pounds
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
kilometers. Like, make up your mind. Yeah, I really like the push towards cans. I feel like a lot of breweries are just sort of like moving off the bottles towards cans. But then there's something about that 6-pack, like
telling
that
you.
6-pack of bottles. And what
Yeah.
beers were you putting in 6-packs?
So we'll be putting our core 4, we like to call them.
Okay.
2 we bottle now, our coffee porter and our saber-toothed squirrel.
Yeah.
That beer. Hoppy American Amber. That's an
Nice.
award-winning beer, multiple times over.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite beers.
Yeah, we should.
Try that after.
We might need to get one soon.
I was gonna say we still have a lightning round to go, so
And for the first time ever in package, our Little Bow Pills, our 4.5% Czech-inspired Pilsner and IPA.
which is what most
we've
of us
been-
were drinking here.
We just polished
Yeah.
off.
It's man.
yeah, it's fantastic.
Which is funny because
Great beer.
the Pilsner is our number 1 by volume in wholesale. It's about 38% of what we brew.
Right.
And our flagship IPA has never been in bottles.
Right, so it's first time.
So it's pretty
It's crazy.
exciting.
That's-
It's
yeah,
like what I was
that's
telling you
amazing.
earlier. If you come to me as a new brewery and you're like, I have this great idea, we're going to make these beers. I'm like, okay, cool. And we're never going to bottle our number 1 volume Pilsner, and we're not going to bottle our flagship IPA for 5 years. I'm like,
You're nuts.
yeah,
Get away.
That's it. You might as well
Interesting plan.
just give me the money and
Just finish it up. Just buy it, peace.
But you guys did it.
Hey, you did
we're
it. and
we're doing
successfully.
it.
That's great, man. But you guys have survived entirely off. Do you guys have any distro as far as bottles right now? Because
Yes.
free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like not a huge amount.
Not a huge amount.
Right. So you, as in the
Here's
my
what,
question.
10% volume?
12, 13%
Where's the
of
rest of it
volume.
come from? Like,
Draft.
Like draft in
Yeah.
bars and restaurants.
Right.
Yeah.
That's sick. And then
It's
of
pretty
course
good.
a bunch from the tap room as well. Like how much?
So 10. That's 90% of volume, and then broken out 88% of that is draft, and then 10% of what we brew total it goes through the tap room.
Right.
You know, we were curious about what the position was from the breweries, from even recognizing that that was a thing. You know, that some people just don't even see it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's hard to be everything to everyone, and you just don't know how well your brand is going to resonate, right?
Yeah.
And when I say brand, it's not like this like marketing jargon.
out.
It's like it's an extension of who we are and what we do. That's what brand is to me.
Yeah.
And you know, making beers and selling to beer geeks is the easiest fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
Those are the
Right.
first
Preaching to
people
the
that
choir.
line up. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But to go beyond that, which I mean, I feel like we've done to a certain degree out in the market and wholesale. But really, with this jump that we're making,
Yeah.
we have a much larger audience that we now have to start talking to.
Right.
And that's the goal.
That is totally the goal. And you know, to your question about why bottles and not cans, it's like, well, I still think that we've always positioned ourselves as a premium product, not to be sold at a premium price, not to be like too expensive, not to be
Right.
inaccessible.
That's important.
But I still
that
think
future.
there's a stigma, and funny about San Diego versus LA versus
yeah.
Montreal or Toronto. Like, I don't know what people are used to drinking out of, but LA is definitely a bottle town.
Right.
Yeah.
And
To cater to the market.
that stigma against cans as a cheaper or inferior product still remains.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard because just I mean technically speaking, most of the breweries in LA, you know, of the 68 are pretty small. Very few of them distribute
Or even package.
or
Yeah,
even
like
package bottles
Right.
or cans, either
Right.
way.
And do like special
the-
can releases here and there.
Yeah,
Mobile
but,
canners.
But you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you at when you're that small, your hope, especially if you're canning, is that the beer sells really fast. And if you're that small, that's what's going to happen. It's going to sell really fast, and it's going to get drank. Because the smaller you are, the harder it is to get quality into a can.
Right.
I mean, you know, you said aluminium is good for beer, right? Because it keeps light and oxygen out, right?
Yes, correct.
That's only if you can get the oxygen out in the first place, and that's a lot harder to do in a can than in a bottle. And the smaller you go, the harder that
it
is. But you know, if it's going to sell out in a day and everyone's going to have drank it by Saturday,
That's a big deal.
Or ship it across the country.
Well, that's
and
well, if you're going to do that,
blistering
then that's
heat.
different.
You know what? This has actually been a damn near 2.5 hour podcast.
Whoa, you're gonna have to edit.
No, it's going to be raw. We've done 2.5 before, pretty
we-
close, but
Who's
I
gonna
don't-
listen to that? Why?
beer nerds and stuff. Beer nerds like it. And it's a
Cool.
ridiculous, fun conversation.
I
Guys,
like
thank you
it.
so much.
That's
I really
fun.
appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time, guys. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you very
good to
much.
see you.
I really appreciate it.
See you soon.
Thank you so
Cool.
busy.
Thanks
Where
so
can
much.
everybody
Yeah.
find you online?
On Facebook, we're at Smog City Brewing.
Yep.
Instagram, Smog City Beer.
Beer,
You can find our beer all over LA and OC. Not much beyond that on draft, unless you're trading for it.
Cool.
And we have a tap room here in Torrance at the brewery, which is where you should come for the full experience.
Ew.
Please.
But also, if you find yourself in Long Beach, we have a tap room at Steelcraft, which is a shipping container beer garden. It's a pretty cool vibe.
Yeah,
You been
it
there?
is. I have. It's
All
freaking
right.
cool, man.
I love it.
Check it out.
But yeah,
Pleasure, guys. Absolute
Thank you.
pleasure. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe below, wherever the hell that is. Hit us up on social media at BAOS Podcast. And of course, if you want to hear more 2.5 hour talks with
2.5.
extremely attractive beardless gentlemen such as these two here, hit us up, Apple Podcasts, what is it, Stitcher, freaking TuneIn, Google Play, all that goodness. That's about it, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
cool. Thanks, guys.
Dope Dank, Dope Dank.